Mashemed, I've seen your video and I want to respond to your video, but before I go ahead, I just want to put a clip so that we can watch.
And look at what African kids are being brought up with. Look at what's being pumped into their brains. God, 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 religion. Pray, pray, pray. Go to church. Just imagine if we got rid of just half the churches in Africa and replaced them with science hubs, research centers, learning centers. Just imagine. But so much money and time and energy and conscience and just people's lives, it's focused on religion. And look, I'm not an idiot. I know not all Africans are poor. People like to say that. You do know not all Africans are poor. The majority of Africans are living around the poverty line, just below it, just over it, all right? Certainly here in Tanzania, there's not really a middle class. You're either doing really well or you're struggling. And these people that are struggling, they're going to church. They don't have much as it is. And their pastors, who oftentimes call themselves prophets, by the way, are demanding that these people give a lot of the very little that they have. It's insane.
I want to respond from what you've said why you don't believe in God. I've seen from these videos that you posted, there's so much of misleading and so much of misinformation, which you have said it, and there's so much of lack of historical knowledge. You said that most of the countries that are developed are the atheist country. It's not true, because when you read the history of dark ages, of course the Middle Ages, but dark ages, why it's called the dark ages? Because people were bent from believing, from understanding, from reading the word of God by themselves. And by that time, the church, which is Roman Catholic, banned people from reading the Bible. In fact, the word of God was not open to the common people. The word of God was like a luxurious thing, which was by the very elite, very few elite, but most of the time, the word of God was not allowed to the common people. And that is the history, which is not written by me. It's all over. You can even search for yourself. It's by 1500 where people like Martin Luther, John Huss, and all these people who were called reformers came up and started reading the Bible and make sure that the Bible, the Word of God, is accessible to all the people. But still, it was death penalty for you to be found reading the Word of God. This is a very open history. So people were banned from reading the Word of God. And according to what you're saying, you want to take us back there. You want to take us where we say, okay, we should eliminate all the faith, so that when we eliminate by half of the faith, it means that the state has to choose which one should stay and which one should go. And again, that is taking us back to the dark ages. And when you talk about Europe, you're talking about the very countries, all the European countries are the countries that were opened up with the word of God through the reformers. How do you say that developed countries are the atheists? Because by that point, so what you're saying is not true. Because the developed countries are Europeans, and Europeans were made out of not atheism, but they were made out of Christianity. Christianity is not coming from West, but Christianity came from East to West. Another point which you have said is about the science. My brother, you cannot have the true science if you separate God. God can never be separated with the science. Do I have an evidence? Yes, I do have an evidence. When you talk about the law of gravity, which is the hub of all the science discovery, you talk about Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, from the historical point of view, he said it himself that he could understand science through understanding God. And he said it through reading the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, he could able to understand the mystery of science. So that is Isaac Newton. Speak about music. You speak about all the greatest composers. You speak about Mozart, you speak about Handel. All these people came during the time of Great Awakening. So you can tell there's so much connection between development, the true development, God. You can never separate these two. So you talk of music, about all these greatest composers. These are the people who came during the time of Reformation during the time when the word of God was open to all the people. But now, why do people now are misled? As you're saying about the false prophets, is because people do not read the word of God. So we should not blame the word of God. The word of God should not be blamed. God is not supposed to be blamed, but it's the very people who are lazy, who do not want to read for themselves, search for the truth for ourselves, want to be told. The very first book of the Bible speaks on how, even in Eden, the paradise, Adam was told to dress the garden, meaning that working was there even from the paradise. So how do you blame the Bible by saying that the Bible do not have the right principle to make people develop, if the very Bible from the first book of the Bible tells that even in paradise people were supposed to work? So do not blame the Bible, but blame the people who are lazy and people who do not want to read for themselves. How do you define the poor? You might see a person who's poor and you might call him poor, but is richer than you, who is rich in material, and you're very empty. You're very empty inside. Africans are very rich. The atheist countries are not better, even in development, compared to the countries that believe in God or believed in God before. Because if Europe now, part of people do not believe in God, but they believed in God before. Talk of Germany, that was a center of reformation. Talk of Sweden, talk of all these Scandinavian countries. Those were the heart, those were the hub of reformation. And from that time is when so much discoveries came across into the world. You talk of America. America is the product of Christianity. America is a product of a Christian awakening. Okay, I don't want to touch it today. You cannot separate America with the religion. You can never. The First Amendment of America speak about separation of religion and the state and religion to be separate. Why? Because of the dark ages, because of how they went through the dark ages, and they never wanted that experience again. So America is the fruit of religion. And when you speak of the first superpower in the world, as I'm talking to you right now, you know yourself, is America. America is not an atheist country. It's the country that its people, its forefathers believed in God. Of course, you speak of George Washington. I don't want to go there. As I'm saying, maybe we'll see it in the other episodes. But the foundation of America, which is a Republican country that believe in God. When you talk about the list of the countries that lives in suicide, it's not African countries. It's those countries which are developed. Why? Because development material has nothing to do with the purpose. So